Well, I just want to comment on Gleyber Torres' reaction to what happened to him Friday.
Okay.
And I thought that he owned it very well. He didn't make no excuses. He knew why he was pulled. And I think the way he reacted and he owned it, I think it says a lot for him, about him. He didn't make, like I keep saying, he didn't make any excuses, and he owned it, which is what he's supposed to have done.
You know what? I couldn't agree with you more. I think he handled it great. Distinguished himself the way he handled it. Didn't say, why me? He might be thinking that, but he came on the bench and watched the rest of the game sitting on the bench where he could have stayed in the clubhouse and pouted. I thought he handled himself great. Let's go to Corey in Newburgh. Corey.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah. What's up?
Hey, good afternoon. How you doing? Thanks for taking the call.
You got it.
All right, so I just wanted your take real quick. I couldn't agree with you more about the intentional walk thing. And I was thinking, I mean, I know, like you said earlier, getting MLB to change rules, you know, it's a pipe dream. But what do you think about if with every intentional walk, the batter takes second base instead of first? Because if we have to deal with the second base runner in extra innings, you know what I'm saying, and that's already a circus act as it is, how bad would it be if with an intentional walk, the batter takes second? If I feel like it would, you know, give the other manager sort of a reason to think twice about doing that, you know?
Well, I mean, what happens, though, I mean, I like the way you're thinking. I like out-of-the-box thinking. But what happens if there's a guy on first and first base open and you intentionally walk somebody? What do? You move the other guy to third?
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. I mean, I didn't think that far into
it. But I hear what you're saying, Corey, because it's so weird. They walked the guy without anybody on base. So it has to be a little more punishment. I guess that's the word I'm looking for, to walk somebody intentionally. Because then there's not really the only punishment you get is you're putting pressure on the guy after to get hits. Now, the Yankees twice loaded the bases. Now, Yankees left the base loaded 3 times yesterday. So the only way you stop it is to punish the other team. But, you know, we were talking about this on the broadcast yesterday. Think about it. Who's hitting behind Judge that would stop you from doing that? And the guy that I came up with is Soto. Soto's the only guy that you would think twice about walking Judge. Now, Judge is the one providing the protection for Soto. I think they both have 91 walks. And Soto gets his walks even with Judge behind him. And that's the best thing that you could do so that Judge isn't walk when Soto's on base. And I think that allows other teams, they figure they've got to pitch to him. But Schneider opened up a portal that not many people, he'll walk him with whatever. Whatever the situation is, he'll move a runner into scoring position. He'll put the tying run on base. He doesn't care. Will other teams do that? I've sat back and watched almost every at-bat this guy's had this year, and I am stunned and flabbergasted about how they continue to pitch to him. Now, I'm not saying intentionally walk him. Give him pitches to hit. And he's so good, and he's having such an unbelievable year that he might see one pitch per at-bat to hit, and he's hitting in the seats. The guy has 41 home runs. He has 41 home runs and I think 102 runs batted in. If his season ended today, and those were his final numbers, you know what you'd say when you look at his line in like 3 years, you go, wow, what a great year. He's got 2 months left. He's had a great year, and it's August 5th. And I mean, he's had a great 162-game slate, and it's August 5th with 50 games to go. What he's doing, I hope everybody's enjoying it. And I know what some of you are going to do, and you'll call in, well, let's see what he does in the postseason. Okay. But let's see what he does during the regular season, too. He's giving you one of the... When he hit 62 home runs 2 years ago, this year's better. He's a better player. He's doing better things. As hard as that is to believe. So if he finishes with 58 home runs and 145 ribbies and he hits 320, it's hard to hit. It's harder to hit now than it's ever been in baseball history. Harder to hit. The collective batting average of the sport is 243. 243. And he's got 41 home runs and he's hitting close to 320. Think about that. Think about what we're seeing. You know, when I told Boone the stat about they hadn't walked somebody intentionally with no one on base in one of the first 2 innings since 1972, he said, that's not even a Bond rule. That's now a Judge rule. They never did that to Bonds. You figure earlier in the game you're going to take your shot. Now, there's a guy on base in the first inning. You got to be out of your mind to give him a pitch to hit. Well, teams have been out of their mind 16 times, and he's hurt them. And even when he doesn't hit home runs, he gets base hits. He's having a year that we probably will never forget. 322, 41 homers, 103 runs batted in. David in Little Falls. David.
Good afternoon, Mike.
Hello, David.
Hey, you're doing well, Solo.
Thanks.
A couple things I'll get out quickly for you. I agree with your take on how you see the sports demeanor and the attitude and the bat flip and the trot around needs to be addressed. But you answered your own question accurately when you said Joe Girardi, who does a good job with you, great coach, he was 7 years too late with Gleyber. Well, Mike, we're probably 20 years too late trying to correct the trend of the attitude flourishing where the bat flip and the trot around and the halfway for the big players. We can't rein that back. And the smaller players are all up and coming. Like you accurately said, why should Gleyber be scrutinized like that and made a scapegoat? But there's no answer that the manager has. Boom, boom is locked in. The only way it stops, Mike, is the cycle has to be slowed down. The money needs to be brought back.
No, that's
and
not
everything needs to be reined in. How else do you fix it, Mike? It's out of control.
Well, I mean, but the guys that are making that money, David, they've earned that money. I mean, they wouldn't be paid that money unless they were making that money back for the organization. So that's never going to happen. I never begrudge them a dime. We don't look at the owners' books and say they shouldn't make that much profit. It's not it. I mean, you know, one of the things that's at fault? Rob Manfred. Let the kids play. Let them show emotion. Okay, they are. And I'm all for them showing emotion. I really, really am. But run hard until the ball's over the fence. Then do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. But when you impact the game by standing there admiring a long fly ball that bangs off the wall, you've hurt your team. So in your intent to sit there and be in the spotlight, have the Klieg lights on you, you've hurt the team. Why would any player want to do that? Just for the opportunity to flip the bat? If you think it's gone, how about this? How about we meet halfway? If you think it's gone, do the bat flip while you're running really hard. How about that? Get your little silly bat flip out of the way. So that'll be on every single highlight show. But then run hard. The fact that you sit there and admire it and sometimes the ball doesn't go out is just, it's mind-boggling to me. It's mind-boggling that it's been allowed to go on as long as it has. Think about it. Steve in New Fairfield. Steve.
Michael, how are you, pal?
Good. How you doing, Steve?
Good opening. Agreed with a lot of what you had to say. The only thing with Gleyber, he's always been one of my favorite players, but also one of my most frustrating players. I think a lot of fans are like that.
Yep.
And I think it's time for him to go. I mean, I think we all see that. The only thing with Gleyber, you mentioned a lot of players who, you know, they strut, they watch it. Most of those players are considered, they're cocky players, whether they're great or not. Donaldson, he was edgy, arrogant, not like Soto was definitely cocky, great player. Plays hard. Just the only thing that lends me to give a little soft spot for Gleyber, I just think he gets in his own head. He's really not a cocky player. Just seems like a nice kid who just gets in his head. Like literally when he watches the ball, instead of digging it, I think he's just literally always thinking in his head he's watching the ball.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where other guys are styling.
Well, I said this on the broadcast on Friday, Stephen. It's a good point, and I think that people should know this. Gleyber Torres is a sweet kid. He's a nice guy. I just don't think his baseball IQ is off the charts. His baseball talent is off the charts. And, I've heard a lot of people, I've been listening to this station today, driving around a lot, and they say, well, why did the Yankees trade him? Because the Yankees figured there's a lot of talent in there. There's a guy who had 38 home runs at one point. He had 25 home runs last year. They figured this is the year to cash in on Gleyber Torres. He's going to be a free agent. He's going to put up numbers like you don't believe. And he's a guy that has been adversely affected by the pressure of playing for a contract. He desperately wants to be a Yankee. Aaron Judge, when he was a free agent, you know what he did? He had 62 home runs. Juan Soto's going to be a free agent. He's putting together an MVP caliber year if it wasn't for Judge. There are some people that excel. Pete Alonso on the other side of town. He is not excelling in a walk year. He's not. Some guys handle it well. Some guys make it a motivational thing. Other guys get overwhelmed by the fact that, wow, if I don't have a good year, I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to get paid. That's what's happening with Gleyber. That is really what's happening with Gleyber. Let's go to Jerry in Manhattan. Jerry.
Hey, Michael, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I have the same point. I think intentional walks should be rewarded 2 bases, and if you do the unintentional walk,
right,
you got to at least throw 1 strike to a batter. You can't throw 4 straight balls. If you throw 1 strike, I think you should also be rewarded 2 bases, because I think you're going to see this trend in the playoffs. They're going to be walking him a lot, the Barry Bonds rule. And so I think they should do that strategy, 2 bases. And if there is a runoff first, he goes to third. There's a run on the second, he gets home. That's going to stop. You want to see the best hitters hit, so you got to implement this rule. I got also a couple of lineup changes I think that will help benefit maybe preventing walking Judge.
Okay.
I think you got to get Verdugo out of the leadoff spot. On the 300, he's been struggling. Bring up Dominguez. It's time for him to be benched. I think either Dominguez should bat up first or Wells, and have either Wells bat up ninth or Dominguez. Dominguez has a history in the minors of getting on base, high on base percentage.
Yeah, but you know, I get that. They've had some problems with the leadoff guy. I understand that. I don't want Wells leading off. He's a dangerous hitter. He should be. I like him batting cleanup or lower in the order every now and then. And they're trying to get Verdugo, because Verdugo is a high on base guy. He's just had some tough times.